Yo, my name is Andrew, and I'm a former Jayson Tatum hater. He went down earlier this week with an Achilles tear, and after years of calling him corny, trashing him online, I took a step back, and I really did feel bad. Superstar in the prime of his career, he's now gone from the playoffs, and who knows if he'll be back for the start of next season, not being able to do what he loves. And yet, there's some trolls online that couldn't stop themselves from continuing to make fun of him, calling him corny, Paul Pierce jokes. So it made me think, why did I feel this way all this time about Tatum? Is there really such a bad thing as internet PR? Well, thankfully for all of us, my introduction to PR in college, I will be able to decipher if internet PR is real and if there's anything we can look back at before to maybe, use as context as to why Jayson Tatum gets so much hate. So what is PR, public relations? Apparently, it is the total communication strategy conducted attempting to reach and persuade an audience to adopt a point of view. And when Jayson Tatum was first drafted in 2017, there were two narratives that were made about him. The first, before the season even started, during the Summer League, Lakers fans, and you know them, they had to get the Kyle Kuzma comps out of the way. I mean, he was picked, 27th or something, and they had to let everybody know that Kyle Kuzma was better than Jayson Tatum. Imagine loading up 2K to play against your rival, against Jackson Ellis, or the Dante Exum when he was good in that one season, you know what I'm talking about. But this Tatum's was Kyle Kuzma, and we know Kyle Kuzma. He was never cool. Could you imagine having your op be Kyle Kuzma? It's certainly not a great picture. Before the season even starts, your rookie year, that's who you're comparing him to. But the other narrative was that he's only 19. He's only 19. And when Tatum was first hooping, he was really hooping. In his first game ever, it was the Celtics, Gordon Hayward. Yeah, it was that game. But I mean, he stepped up, played about 40 minutes, and his entire year he averaged about 14 points per game and was the perfect wing for what the team needed. For context, the only top 10 picks in the past decade to play on a team with 30 losses or less were Jaylen Brown, Reed Shepard, Kassan Wallace, and the Cum Bucket. Anyone else has never had to play under these conditions, and nobody played more minutes than Jayson Tatum did during this time frame, and especially on a team that went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. So Tatum, in his own respect, was one of a kind, and Celtics fans would not let you forget that because he's only 19. So of course, he would naturally have to progress in a better way. He didn't win Rookie of the Year, but we're definitely going to talk about that more later. He went into the playoffs and averaged 36 minutes a game as a rookie and averaged 18.5 points for a team that was just a game short of going all the way to the NBA Finals and include one of the toughest rookie moments in probably rookie history.
7 points with 6:45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down! Wow!
So I don't really need the clutch fans pulling up to my place. But I mean, you saw the clip. He dunked on the King at just 19, and again was just a game away from going to the NBA Finals as a rookie. He really stepped to the GOAT. I mean, what else can you ask for? And again, as Celtics fans remind us, he was only 19. He had a relatively similar season the next year. Unfortunately, had to deal with a lot of Kyrie drama. But this year, he would be beaten a little bit earlier in the playoffs. The Bucks and Giannis, they stepped to them and beat him in just 5. But this year, he also signed with Jordan Brand, and he started flexing Deuce, that meatball, around a little bit more. 2020 season, he would improve his stats to 23 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists, which led him to his first All-Star team and an NBA third-team appearance. Celtics would make it to the Eastern Conference Finals again, but would face the Miami Heat for the first of many times in the 2020s. The Heat would win in 6 off the emergence of playoff Jimmy and Bam Adebayo, and with the greatest moment of that series, unfortunately, having Tatum being on the wrong side of an elite Bam Adebayo block. Tatum would come back from the pandemic and make that jump everyone knew that he could. He averaged 26.5, his first All-Star team, he made an All-NBA team, and for the first time in his career, a 50 ball, and the first play-in game ever. The first play-in game. The thing that everybody likes now. Tatum made it cool immediately. Now, of course, it wasn't a close game against the Washington Wizards, but he popped off. A 50 again in the next series, but unfortunately, he was playing against the demons that were the Kyrie, KD, and James Harden Super Nets. And while Tatum had been to the Eastern Conference Finals twice in his first 4 years, the Celtics fans and the larger media were already asking, could he be the number one and could he get them over the hump? Before we head into the 2022 season, we need a little PR check. Tatum's about to be 24, with multiple 50-point playoff games, has gone to the Eastern Conference Finals twice, has made an All-NBA team, is a proud dad with a signature shoe, one of the largest markets in the NBA. He built trust with the public that he was a hooper, and there was no controversy behind him to this point. Well, he wasn't a real shit talker or anything. He was just kind of a guy, a stand-up citizen, which I don't know, is inoffensive in a way. So in 2022, he made another jump. He averaged 27 and 8, an All-NBA first-team appearance, 6th in MVP voting, and the second best record in the East. Round 1, he had one of the best playoff walk-offs in Celtics history.
Smart fakes. Inside, Tatum spins, and he puts it in.
And that started a sweep of these same Brooklyn Nets. Round 2, the Bucks would take a 3-2 lead, and heading back to Milwaukee in Game 6, Jayson Tatum stepped up 46 points to force a Game 7. The Celtics took care of business after that to win by 28 and once again meet the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Tatum played pretty well overall. He had a big stinker in Game 3, but outside of that, he did enough to get them to where they needed to be. So Miami, they forced a Game 7 all the way back in Miami. But for the first time in this video, we have to talk about crisis management. So what is crisis management? Some of you may ask. Well, let's take a look at the notes here. The dialogues details strategies and tactics designed to minimize damage to the organization's image. So why do we have to talk about crisis management? Well, just a few hours before the game started, Jayson Tatum sent a text to the then deceased Kobe Bryant that said, "I got you." And he posted it, and it was just corny. It just felt like something that someone at your high school posted, like, what are you doing? And the game starts, and he's wearing a purple armband with 24 on it. He was just doing a lot of performance engagement baiting things, and it didn't feel like him. Now, we knew, of course, that Jayson Tatum was a huge Kobe guy, but what are you doing? That's not you, at least to what we had thought to this point. So how would we handle this crisis? Well, the only way for him to handle it is he has to play well or win. It seemed to help him enough. He almost had a triple-double, 26, 10, and 6, and the Celtics made it to the finals. I mean, they were just this far away from not making the finals because of a Jimmy Butler attempt from 3. But I mean, they made it for the first time with this core, and newly crowned Eastern Conference Finals MVP Jayson Tatum had led them there. While that Kobe text didn't necessarily bite him in Game 7, it certainly came back and bit him in the finals. If we look back on how to implement crisis management, you have to implement strategies to minimize damage to the organization's image. With Tatum being the organization, the only way he can really do that is by either A, playing well, or B, winning. When you don't do either, kind of a spell for disaster. Because at the end of the day, the media controls the narrative, and the media reinforces the online messages that the Twitter bots, which formerly was me, I have to admit, are sending out constantly towards Jayson Tatum. So when Tatum shot 36% from the field, and he averaged 21.5, 4 turnovers as the number 1 option, I mean, I was salivating. Here's some screenshots. I was there hating, you know what I mean? But he didn't look like the guy. Jaylen Brown had to step up, but no one really looked like the guy. And for the first time in his career, Stephen Curry was a finals MVP. And because there's no basketball now to be played for another 4 months, and he was just on the largest stage that you can play on, it's kind of the message that everyone was left with. Can Jayson Tatum be a number 1? And he's a little bit corny for the Kobe stuff he was just doing. But in 2023, he came back and he proved that he could rise to another level again. He dropped another shoe. He dropped the Ruffles chip with LeBron. He won All-Star Game MVP. He finished All-NBA First Team again, and he had votes for Clutch Player of the Year. After not being clutch at all, he finished 4th in MVP voting with career highs in every statistic. The man did everything correct. Of course, he was still catching slander. He just didn't have the it effect, He was just this role model citizen, but you can't be the role model citizen and not have aura. So into the playoffs they go. Pack up Trae Young and the Hawks real quick, and now they're on to a real rival. With all due respect to the Heat, the 76ers definitely not the most liked in the Celtics fandom. This series showed off the complete highs and lows of what being a Jayson Tatum truther was at this time. Game 2, Tatum shot 1 for 7 and scored just 7 points, but his team still won by 34. So now a new narrative could be pushed about the star. He doesn't need to be good for his team to win. A new level of super team. Now, for the rest of the series, well, at least the next 3 games, he scored 27, 24, and 36, but his team would be down 3-2 heading back to Philly. And in Game 6, Tatum shoot 5 for 21, but the Celtics did enough to get it back onto their home court. So now, a Game 7. The face of the organization, Jayson Tatum, what can you do after putting up 2 stinkers, and especially one in a must-win game? He dropped 50 points for Jayson Tatum. He's done it again, and this time he really proves he is a clutch guy. I mean, what else can you ask for from your number 1? The Celtics went on to play the Heat again, but they went down a 3-0 hole early in the series, not winning a single damn game. They came back, tied the series at 3-3, but ultimately falling short again in Game 7, where the Heat this time would go on to play Nikola Jokic in the NBA Finals. And unfortunately for Jayson Tatum, losing to the Heat again, he didn't play necessarily great. And even with that 50 ball in Game 7, he still kind of had this he's not clutch narrative, which at this time definitely did not make sense. The Twitter trolls were just trolling. The media was just negligent. And the Jayson Tatum truthers were saying, what did we not just see? A 50-point Game 7? And I get exactly where they're coming from. I understand he wasn't there in Game 7, but he was just there in Game 7 the series right before that, So the narratives that were stacking up against him weren't necessarily fair. I kind of like to think about corniness, kind of like how Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother thought about the Crazy Hot scale. You can only be so corny if you're good enough. And unfortunately for Jayson Tatum, he was more of a, what's that thing called? The parabola? It goes up and down and up and down. He was never a consistent line to match up with what everybody needs him to be, especially for the narratives that are being painted against him. And he just wasn't consistent enough to stay away from those corny narratives. So we entered the 2024 season, and he did it again. 6th in MVP, All-Star, All-NBA First Team, 9th in Clutch Player of the Year voting, best record in the league, and it was pure dominance throughout the playoffs. Not a single series went to more than 5 games. Eastern Conference Finals, light work for Conference Finals MVP Jaylen Brown. Anyways, the Boston Celtics would glide to an NBA championship over Luka Doncic, and for the first time, Jayson Tatum was a champion. Listen to this. There are only 6 players in NBA history to lead their team in every major statistical category and win the NBA Finals. Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, Bron, Nikola Jokic, and Jayson Tatum this year. Yet Jaylen Brown was the Finals MVP. Unfortunately, he left another sour taste in everybody's mouth. He shot 38% from the field and 26% from 3, and is now the 3rd worst effective field goal percentage player in NBA Finals history ever. As Kevin Durant just proved to us very recently, people don't care about winning really. What public relations teaches us is that they really care about how you make them feel. And Jayson Tatum's problems were only going to begin now that he won this Finals. Immediately after winning, Jayson Tatum would go on a corny outrage, mimicking Kevin Garnett, Stephen Curry. I'm sure there's more. Those are the only 2 prominent ones that I recall. But the public now thinks he's a number 2, because Jaylen Brown just won the Finals MVP. He's mega corny, and he's the least efficient player in Finals history now. But despite that, he would still get invited to the USA Olympic team in Paris, where he could prove to everyone again that he's that guy. Maybe play a little bench depth, because KD, LeBron, but he could be that guy on this team. Well, unfortunately for him, Steve Kerr had a very, very different idea. Made the best player on the reigning NBA champions team sit from multiple games against Serbia. The memes were going crazy. I'm sure they'll pop up here, but the memes were going crazy about Jayson Tatum hate. And again, I was actively participating in them, but he definitely didn't deserve it being benched. He went on to make another shoe, was on the cover of 2K, was in the Netflix series, wrote a children's book, made another All-Star, averaged a career high in rebounds and assists. The man just continued to improve in every possible way. He kept his head down and he kept working. He averaged 31 in the first series that went down against the Magic, and then they went on to play the Knicks, where things started going bad for the Celtics, especially Tatum. He shot 7 for 23 and 5 for 19. Celtics won Game 3 with a near triple-double, and then Game 4. Tatum was going off, doing everything that he possibly could. Now, the Celtics by no means were cooking the Knicks, but the Celtics were staying in the game, and especially because of Jayson Tatum. And then Jaylen Brown couldn't catch a pass. So now Tatum might be out for all the 2026 season, and people are still going to clown on him no matter what he does. I really do feel bad for Jayson Tatum, but I couldn't stop thinking, what made him in this position? It couldn't just simply be being a player on the Celtics. It couldn't just simply be being as corny as he was. So I had to think back to the not so distant future. And remember how I said that we were going to come back to that Rookie of the Year conversation? Well, here he is, Ben Simmons. His situation isn't one of one, of course. Ben Simmons was the number 2 behind Joel Embiid. His player criticisms were taken to a completely different level, but he would still get flack really for not being able to take that jump shot, kind of in the same vein as Tatum getting vain for not being able to be that number 1 option. It all sort of culminated when, of course, the infamous passing up of the layup happened to Ben Simmons, and he was never really the same after that. And so now I kind of wonder if the same sort of thing is about to happen to Jayson Tatum after this Achilles injury. He was essentially chased out of Philadelphia, and he wouldn't be welcome to an NBA court again for a long time. He was being relentlessly attacked on online and traditional media. Everywhere you looked, Ben Simmons was being clowned on, almost like a certain someone. Now again, obviously not for the same purposes, but it's similar stories. There's the one edge of Ben Simmons, and then the other, almost LeBron. When Jayson Tatum was just 19, the he's only 19 thing was a meme, but was it really? Tatum was pegged to be this new superstar, just kind of like LeBron coming out of high school saying, I can be that guy. I will meet all of your expectations and more. Something that seemed ludicrous at the time, but he somehow did. And I think Jayson Tatum's fault is having those new, flashy expectations on him that were impossible for him to really meet. Now, of course, I'm comparing him to who has arguably the best PR ever, but those are the polar opposites that we've been given. Tatum teeters too much to be in the media, plays top 5 player conversations. He can't keep the consistency needed to earn the trust of the public he needs. And because of that, he hasn't been able to give the media a narrative that paints him in a positive light. And because the media gives third-party validation, he hasn't escaped the fraud. He is in number 1 corny conversations. In PR, you're taught you can only do so much with paid advertising. Jordan Brand, Gatorade, 2K covers. It'll build up your exposure for your audience for sure. But the unfortunate thing for Tatum is he wasn't playing well on the court while some of these things were happening. So this exposure almost generated more negative momentum for him. Tatum's kind of like the textbook guy we should be supporting. He made it out of tragic times. He's one of the best high school players in America. He played for Coach K at Duke. He was on one of the best teams his rookie season, and he made an impact, playing almost 40 minutes a night, and he stepped to the king in Game 7, a clutch moment, mind you, and one of the most important moments of his early and total career. He's a perennial All-NBA first-team player, All-Star, face of the franchise that no one really gives the respect for because of his corniness and his inconsistency. So to answer the question, does bad internet PR exist? Not only does it, Jayson Tatum is almost a textbook case study of how it could.